If you've watched any of my previous videos, you've seen that we were involved in a pretty serious crash. Well, the car's back from the body shop, and it's time to get the motor back in. While we're doing that, we're going to try and get some more performance out of the car. So I'm going to review and compare two different XACT flywheels. I've been running the Streetlite flywheel, and it made some pretty significant improvements in the car that really worked out well. Now we're going to upgrade to their Prolite flywheel. So this should free up even more power and save even more weight on the car. Since I'm going to be running both, one after the other, I'll be able to tell you exactly what it does for the car and exactly what it's going to mean to you. Let's get started. We got the clutch disc and the pressure plate off. Clutch disc looks excellent. The pressure plate and flywheel definitely have some hot spots, but that's because I slip the clutch a lot with this low horsepower engine. That's how I get an extra drive out of the turn. On the Streetlite flywheel, you could definitely see some hot spots where I've been slipping the clutch, but the flywheel is still nice and smooth. These aren't pits or anything. There's no cracking, so this thing is still good to go. I definitely could keep running it, but we want to get that performance advantage, so we're going to upgrade to the Prolite. Just picking them up, this Prolite flywheel is significantly lighter. It's 10.5 pounds compared to the Streetlite, which is 11.8. So it's 1.3 pounds lighter, and all the weight savings is around the outside of the flywheel, where it's going to make the most amount of difference to your car. With the Streetlite flywheel, this thing is significantly lighter than stock. You can see how nicely everything's machined, all the Lightening pockets on the inside and outside. This thing ran really well and really made a performance difference on the car. With the Prolite flywheel, it's very similar, but you can see all the extra material that they took off around the outside, all these extra pockets. Even on the back side, they machined a lot of extra material. So this thing should allow the car to accelerate quite a bit quicker. One of the things I really like about these XACT flywheels is, one, they come with pilot bearings pre-pressed into them, so that's one less step that you have to worry about. The other, they always come with new bolts, so you don't have to worry about screwing up the old bolts. Everything's nice and new and ready to go. One of the first things I notice with all of the XACT products that I've used is the fit and finish is impeccable on them. They're gorgeous, the packaging looks awesome, everything fits just the way you'd expect and has an awesome finish. These flywheels are machined to perfection and they look beautiful. You could hang them on your wall. I just got back from racing Rally Colorado on this Prolite flywheel, and there's definitely a difference between this one and the Streetlite flywheel. You can see the difference on the face of the flywheel, and you can also feel the difference in the car. And before I get into those specifics and tell you exactly what the difference that you'll feel, let me talk a little bit about the generalities of lightening up the rotating assembly. What I mean by lightening the rotating assembly is everything that's connected from the flywheel through the crankshaft to the pulleys and even the accessories on the front of the motor, because those are all spinning together, and lightening up any of those components will have similar effect. Probably most notably is the flywheel, because not only is it heavy, but it's larger diameter, so you feel that rotational inertia more. So when you start lightening these up, one thing you probably won't feel as much, but is definitely a benefit to your car, is overall weight savings. And if your car is lighter, it accelerates faster, it brakes faster, and it turns faster. So that's always a good thing, and that's why I go as light as I can. The other thing with that rotational inertia, your engine will actually spin up quicker, and it'll spin down quicker. When we're talking about spinning up, it's just physically easier to accelerate, so you're freeing up a little bit of horsepower and your car will be quicker, especially in those lower gears where you're going through the RPMs quicker. When I talk about spinning down, that's when you put the clutch in and let off the gas, how quickly those RPMs drop. Why is that important? It helps with rev matching if you're shifting really quick. So if you're a quick shifter, or you're doing track days, or you're out at the races, that's a great thing. After driving on these, I love the shifting. I jump in the daily driver with the stock flywheel, and it's like driving in slow motion. I feel like I'm putting the clutch in and I gotta wait for those RPMs, but not so with these. Another side benefit to these lighter rotating assemblies, which I was not expecting, is the transmission shifts a lot better. Especially when I was out racing and jamming those gears in as quickly as I could. If I didn't have the clutch all the way to the floor and shift just perfect, I'd get the gears kind of hung up and it would take a second for them to go in. With these lightweight flywheels, that's not the case anymore. Now I'm shifting like I do on the street, where I'm not quite fully disengaging the clutch. It just lets me get that shift off quicker, and I'm having no hang-up issues, so I'm extremely happy with that because of a lighter rotating assembly. Now that I've told you about how awesome going with a lightweight rotating assembly is, let me tell you about a couple of the trade-offs. Two places you'll definitely notice it. First, when you're starting from a dead stop. Because there's so much less momentum in that engine, now when you get started, you're going to have to just give it more gas, slip the clutch a little bit more. If you try and start it like you normally do, it'll just kill the engine. The other place where you'll notice this is any situation where you're really lugging the gear. For example, like an on-ramp that's maybe a little bit uphill, stop and go traffic with a metering light. You're not going to be able to just lug it where it's just barely going at idle because you don't have enough momentum to keep the engine running. It'll kill it. Again, you're going to have to work the clutch, keep those RPMs a little bit higher so that you can keep going that way. Now, let's talk more specifically about these two flywheels. Overall, I'm extremely happy with both the Prolite and the Streetlite flywheel. I recommend ACT's products. They're extremely well manufactured. Little things like the bearings being installed, it's one less step, one less thing you could mess up and ruin a good flywheel. Obviously the Prolite flywheel is a lot lighter and it's got all the weight more toward the center, so the effect is magnified. So you're going to feel those effects a lot more with the Prolite than you will with the Streetlite. So what type of driver would want to run each type of flywheel? The Prolite, highly recommend for racers, especially if you're on a street course or some kind of course where you're not starting from a dead stop. When I race rally, each stage starts from a dead stop, and that's why you see so many more hot spots on this flywheel than you did on the Streetlite, because I wanted to get a good launch, and in order to get a good launch with a lighter flywheel, I had to put the RPMs all the way to red line and really slip the clutch. I was able to get an awesome launch that way, but as you can see, it's definitely harder on the flywheel. So something to consider. If you want the benefits everywhere else on the course and you're willing to live with this, you'll probably just end up having to replace your flywheels a little bit more often, but that's racing. So again, Prolite for racers, highly recommend it. If you're driving on the street, I'm going to say this is probably more aggressive than you want to deal with. I'd probably stay away from this if your car is primarily a daily driver. The Streetlite flywheel is great on the street. You'll still notice those same effects, both positive and negative, but the Streetlite flywheel has quite a bit more inertia, and it's much more friendly for driving on the street. A lot easier to get the car started from a dead stop. So you still see the trade-offs, but if you want all the benefits and you're driving it on the street, then going with the Streetlite is the way to go. And as you saw from the Streetlite, there's a lot less wear and heat because I didn't have to slip the clutch nearly as much. Hopefully that helped. If you got any more questions that I didn't answer, go ahead and drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more episodes. Hopefully I'll see you out at the races.